Form, elevate, and repeat. That's what it be. Prayer, meditation, and sleep. Watch what you eat. Treat the body like a machine. Keep it clean. Manifest the energy needed to reach the dream. Never drop the form. You bound to go face a storm. Get back to the form. The formers will put you on. Believe in the destiny given for you was born. Believe that where you at is what you're supposed to be on. Hey, y'all, if you can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, then your body works. And if your body works, then you have everything you need to win. Peace, family. Again, I'm Yusha Assad, artist, speaker, and coach, welcoming you to another drop of trust, truth, discipline, and intentional alignment. This is Working and Winning with Great Care, where we don't just strive to do great things, we strive to do all things with great care, purpose, and intention. Listen, y'all, the goal ain't just to do it, it's to do it right and to win in the right way. Every week, y'all, I'm going to be pulling up to share what I'm learning, what I'm practicing, and what I'm challenging myself and you to walk out in real life, y'all. This ain't performance. This is practice. This is presence. And this is how we build what God intended for us to have. So wherever you are right now, at your job, on a walk, or in your car, wherever you are, tap in. Let's work and win.
I am a recording artist, motivational speaker, master certified professional coach, and I do a lot of different things. I got to this place because I was somehow willing to believe that I could create a future that hadn't been seen yet.
This is dope, though. I love it, bro.
Right? When you hear all of the different things that I do, I've been told in my life, you do too much. And I'm glad to say that I did not follow those thoughts and allow that to hinder me from what I do. God gave me 5 things: speaking, teaching, coaching, training, and performing.
This is episode 3 of our first season of Working and Winning with Great Care. Today's topic is form, elevate, and repeat, the power of discipline. It ain't punishment. It's a path, right? We're digging into the misunderstood and often misused word of discipline. Now, today, y'all, we're going to explore the true definition of discipline, not as a restriction, but as a sacred devotion to our purpose, values, and goals. Drawing from our personal story, spiritual law, and practical wisdom, we'll examine how discipline becomes the bridge between who we are now and who we want to become, who we're called to become. Whether we are trying to build a business, trying to heal, raising a child, or simply just trying to show up better, this episode will challenge the way we think about our commitment, our consistency, and our care. But first, let's recap last week's conversation, which was, what does it mean to live with great care? And our first conversation is, what does it mean to work and win? But last week's conversation really challenged the spirit in which we do things, right? So what we talked about last week, y'all, is that with great care is a mantra and a lifestyle, right? And it's connected to a belief in spiritual principles and scientific laws that basically says that what we think, feel, speak, work, and give from the right spirit, so it says that when we think, feel, speak, work, and give from the right spirit, then we receive from God's universe a return on those gifts, and those things are multiplied. And so essentially we're saying that to live with great care is therefore the conscious effort of giving our best efforts to the world and to others, regardless of what we're experiencing from people or circumstances. And so we know that each moment is creating the next. And so we live with great care in the now, right? The goal is to be present in the now, to be resonant with love in the now, and all of this, y'all, so that we can experience greater love, presence, and care in our lives, right? So last week's episode was called It Ain't What We Do, It's How You Do It, right? It ain't what you do, but how you do it. How to live with great care. It is available right now on my YouTube. So go to my YouTube channel. You'll find it as a podcast. Make sure to catch up with us by watching that episode, liking it, sharing it with someone who you know needs or aligns with that message. Then also, y'all, please subscribe to my YouTube channel to get each episode as they're released, to also get connected to the music, so forth and so on. What's going on? I see you in here, bro. You got my guy here. Now, back to discipline. Let's talk about it. All right. It ain't punishment. It's a path. I want to start with some lyrics from my song Form. And it goes like this. So I kind of started with that, but I want to go back to it. I'm going to give y'all the whole layout. So the course for form says, form, elevate, and repeat. That's what you see. It's a movement. That's how you get to the victory. Form, elevate, and repeat. That's what you see. We the movement. We the new writers of history. Form, elevate, and repeat. That's what you see. Join the movement. If elevation is what you seek, form, elevate, and repeat. That's what you see. You ain't moving. Now you just watching the disbelief. Form, elevate, and repeat. That's what it be. Prayer, meditation, and sleep. Watch what you eat. Treat the body like a machine. Keep it clean. Manifest the energy needed to reach the dream. Never drop the form. You bound to go face a storm. Get back to the form. The formers will put you on. Believe in the destiny given for you was born. Believe that where you at is what you're supposed to be on. Then get back to the flow, youngin. See me out here running up the skull, youngin. I was born to fly through the door, youngin. Now my man born to fly getting swole, youngin. Yes, Lord, sweat dripping off my nose, youngin. Forehead to the flow, speaking cold, youngin. Youngins out here saying I'm a cold hitter, an alchemist, turning life into goals, youngin. Form, elevate, and repeat. That's who I be. Wake up, work out, say a prayer, belief. Y'all, wake up, work out, say a prayer, belief. This line, right? Wake up, work out, say a prayer, belief comes directly from a formula I gave myself in 2019. The formula is, and some of you know this because you've been following me long enough, the formula is wake up, work out, get in tune, believe, do the work, do one thing extra, rest, repeat. Again, the formula is wake up, work out, get in tune, believe, do the work, do one thing extra, rest, and repeat. Why did I have this formula, right? I needed something to follow to keep me on track while building the life I saw for myself and believed that I could have, right? 2019 was my first attempt at full-time entrepreneurship, right? And what I realized very quickly, no one controlled my time. My life was in my hands and everything was dependent upon my work. And I knew then what I even know more now, which is that success is inevitable, right? You just have to have the right recipe and be willing to cook it up. So regardless of what dish we're making, what outcome we want or destination we want to get to, y'all, discipline is going to be the key ingredient. The question is, do we truly understand what discipline is? The word discipline, y'all, actually comes from the Latin word disciplina, which means instruction, teaching, and learning. And it's rooted in the Latin word discipulus, which means student or pupil, right? It's also where we get the word disciple. And disciple itself is defined as one who follows. A teacher, a path, a way of life is just one who follows. So at its core, discipline is about being a student. It's about being a devoted follower or a devoted follower of a principle, purpose, or practice, right? That's what discipline is about, being a student and a devoted follower of a principle, a purpose, or a practice. And so, y'all, contrary to what we were told growing up, it's not about punishment or control, right? It's not about whooping our kids. It's not about punishing ourselves. It's not about getting in trouble at all, right? Discipline is really about the process of learning and growth. So when I say discipline, y'all, I don't mean punishment, right? I mean practice. When I say discipline, I mean study, right? When I say discipline, I mean training ourselves to become the people our visions require. To be disciplined, y'all, means to be a disciple of our higher selves, to see the vision of who we can become and then create a recipe to get there. Then follow that recipe, right? Even when it's hard, even when it's inconvenient, because we believe in what's on the other side, right? We believe in the finished product. And so I want to add a note here, right? The note is that discipline is not about beating ourselves up when we fall short on the recipe. It's about getting back in the kitchen every day, tweaking the recipe until it's just right, right? Then staying in the kitchen to perfect with that perfect recipe so that we can heal ourselves. I want to go back and say that to you. Discipline is not about beating ourselves up when we fall short on the recipe. It's about getting back in the kitchen every day, tweaking the recipe until it's just right. Then staying in the kitchen with that perfect recipe so that we can heal ourselves, our families, and our communities, just like grandma would do it. All right. She didn't stop cooking because she got the recipe right or wrong, right? Grandma stayed in the kitchen and she stayed there to feed her family. Always a student of her craft because she was learning, one, how to win. She was also preparing us how to win and then teaching us how to love in the process. You know, grandma put that good food. She put that good love in the food, right? And so that's what really discipline is all about, right? Getting in that kitchen, staying in that kitchen, tweaking the recipe until you perfect it. And then once you perfect it, not leaving the kitchen because you perfected it or got it right, stay in the kitchen because that's how you're going to heal your family, how we're going to heal ourselves and bring ourselves to our full maturation. Why is being disciplined so important, though? Why is being disciplined or having a discipline so important? And so I want to really give y'all a personal story. I'm going to let y'all get in my life a little bit. Some of you know, and most of you don't, right? I'm from a place, small city in Reedsville, in North Carolina called Reedsville, right? A small city about 20 minutes north of Greensboro, North Carolina, and about 30 minutes south of the Virginia line. Now, growing up, we had a really simple way of living, right? Most of our parents worked in local factories on a first, second, or third shift. Others may have worked on farms or drove tractor trailer trucks or worked in the post office, but the majority worked in the factories. These were not jobs you needed high levels of education for, right? There was a time when you didn't even have to have a high school diploma to get one of these jobs for, matter of fact, my father actually never passed the 10th grade, right? So consequently, people really never made a lot of money. Those who were better off had higher paying factory jobs or worked their way up to supervisor. And so the formula for me was set early, right? Finish school, then get a job in the factory, using one of my family members' reputations to get that job. Since you already know. This was really the only legal option that was communicated to me, y'all. There was no talks of college, being a doctor, lawyer, engineer, teacher, principal, corporate exec. What was that, right? These weren't conversations we was having. I was destined by the discipline that was established for me to work at a Quality Associates, Burlington Mills, American Tobacco Factory, Goodyear, Procter and Gamble, others, right? These are all factories in the area where I was born and raised. And I'm not saying that these are bad places to work or speaking down on those who work there, right? Many of my family and friends have bought houses, cars, have bought houses, cars, went on vacations. They've gotten married and provided for their families from these jobs. And had I not seen something different, I would have easily accepted this path as well. Now, the generation right above me, they rebelled against this formula, right? And created one of their own. My big homies were influenced by TV, the flashy lights of rappers and movie stars, the allure of having the ladies driving a nice car, having the freshest clothes, and they got into hustling. Now, those were some of the positive motivations in terms of the things that they were looking forward to having. And the other side was a lifestyle connected to poverty, right? The one where our parents struggled to make ends meet. And I won't get into that because if you know, then you know, right? But we grew up, right? The poverties of the 80s and the development of harder, more addictive drugs that were extremely profitable drove my big homies to the streets because mom and dad both had jobs and it wasn't enough. So obviously, this was also a recipe that I could follow as well. And had I not seen something different, I would have easily accepted this path. However, when I was in 10th grade, I took an art class. And the whole semester was really about sketching, right? So I had this great sketchbook that I worked on all semester. And I actually still have that same sketchbook today. But in that class, we were given an assignment to sketch our futures. Now, I want y'all to know this was hard for me to do at first because I rejected both visions, right? The legal factory work trajectory was not appealing, right? And after watching my older cousins and family members get life sentences for mandatory drug minimums, that path was also not appealing. Both seem like last resorts or fallbacks, right? If I can't get to where I get to, I can always go work in a factory. Or, if things don't work out for me, I can always do what the big homies was doing. The grace for me, though, y'all, the grace for me is what happened that allowed me to finish that assignment. I essentially had a dream. When I awake from the dream, right, it was an awake dream, right? I wouldn't sleep. It was an awake dream. It was a daydream. And what I saw was clear as day. It was real. And despite the fact that my community didn't show me anything close to the dream that I saw, I was raised by my father, who essentially taught me to be confident and faithful. And so I sketched what I saw. Now, the truth can be expressed in the lyrics of my song. The truth of this can be expressed in my song, uh, Amazing. It's on my fourth project called Workin Winnin. It's the orange one. On the third verse of Amazing, I say, $1 billion dreams, but didn't know how. No billionaires in my family profile. Not too many educated, boy. I'm first gen, college grad, and to do it, I had to work and win. Do something in this world you find purpose in, or do something you've been doing and put purpose in it. My daddy preached, my people said I'd follow that, but he ain't have dope money. I wanted all of that, but I couldn't take my people's route. Even now with stuff that we don't speak about when I'm reaching out, because I'm a combination of the one and two. And it's amazing how I work and win and bust these moves. Now, how does this relate to discipline, y'all? There's a brother by the name of Stan Long. Those of you who are in the DMV may know him. He and his wife, Terry, run a podcast called Spotlight Over the City. And while interviewing them, they asked me where I was from, and I told them Reesville. And Stan says, Reesville? Oh, I know exactly where you're from. He said, that's a hard place to springboard from. Now, in essence, y'all, he was giving credit to the hard work that I must have put in. But in his words lies a question, and often asked to me by my nephew as well, right? He would also say, Unc, how did you do it? You know what I'm saying? How did you get out of the Ville? The answer, y'all, is discipline. Discipline. My father used to always say, greatness isn't an accident, it's a habit. And so if we're going to achieve the visions given to us through spirit, through God, right? The daydreams that show us that we can be bigger, right? Not only have to, and not only have to believe to achieve them, but we have to be willing to build the recipe, that reality, for that reality and cook it. Let me say that again, because I want to get it clear, right? If we are going to achieve the visions given to us through spirit, right? The daydreams that show us that we can be bigger, we not only have to believe in them, we have to be willing to build the recipe for that reality and cook it. And listen, y'all, I truly promise you that if you stay in the kitchen and cook, your visions will become a reality. Note, I want to say it again, y'all. Greatness is not an accident. It is a habit. To achieve the dreams we see for ourselves requires building of a recipe or a formula that we commit ourselves to on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis to become who we really are, right? Who God sent us to be. Now, this has to regularly include study, right? Study of ourselves, study of our crafts, study of our higher selves. We must be students of the dream, apprentices to our future selves. And when we do this, y'all, we not only honor ourselves, we love ourselves. And to love us is to be gentle with who we are today while doing the work that creates tomorrow. You hear me? To love us is to be gentle with ourselves today while doing the work that creates our tomorrow. Perfecting the recipe daily while enjoying our time in the kitchen, right? Singing, tasting, laughing, loving, just as grandma would do. That's what it means to love ourselves as it relates to discipline, right? To be gentle with who we are today while doing the work that helps us to create our tomorrow. Perfecting the recipe while enjoying our time in the kitchen. Singing, tasting, laughing, loving, just as grandma would do. Now let's make this real, y'all. One of the things I like to do every week is connect the lesson that I'm talking about to natural law and scripture. And I do this because I love my people and I know my people, right? We want proof, right? Either from science, from scripture, right? We want to know what the Lord said about it, or someone's story that we can validate. So I want to get into the natural law. Now, what is the natural law for this one? Discipline, when viewed through the natural law, is not a restriction, it's alignment. Right now, this law that we're going to look at today is two of them. One is the law of cause and effect, and the other one is the law of gestation. Now, the law of cause and effect says that every action we take sets a result in motion. Discipline then is the consistent cause that brings about the effect of greatness, right? The law of cause and effect. Once again, we notice law of cause and effect is also connected to what goes around comes around, right? What you put in is what you get out. It's kind of what we talked about last week in the divine law of compensation. But what this is that every action we take sets a result in motion, right? It's creating an outcome. And so discipline for us is the consistent cause that brings about the effect of greatness. Now, where most of us get lost is that it takes time, right? This brings us to the second one, which is the law of gestation. And the law of gestation says that everything has a season of becoming, right? In our last episode, and how to live with great care, I mentioned that the creator says he's the one who created creation and then caused it to repeat. So in the example of the earth, right, he's the one who created creation and caused it to repeat. So in the example of the earth, a seed planted in the earth doesn't bloom overnight, y'all. It takes time. In the example of a womb, a seed planted in the womb of a woman doesn't birth overnight. It takes 9. All right, y'all like that, Ron? I'm going to do it again, right? So in the example of the earth, a seed planted in the earth doesn't bloom overnight. It takes time. But in the example of a woman, a seed planted in the womb of a woman doesn't birth overnight. It takes 9. So y'all, there's a process unseen and unknown to us that's happening under the soil and in the woman producing the dream. We can't see it. We don't know what's happening. It's an unseen, unknown process to us. Look, though we cannot see the process, though, we play a part in it. The part we play is as farmers or parents is to do the daily work of cultivating and loving, right, the earth or mother, keeping the environment ripe for the seed to birth, grow, and become itself. Right? If you don't do the work of tilling that soil and taking care of that soil, right, you don't keep it ripe for the soil to do its work. You got to keep the soil ripe so it can do its work. You got to make sure mom is healthy so that her body can do the work. You don't know the work that's being done, but you do have a part to play in cultivating the environment, cultivating the soil, cultivating the earth, right? Likewise, we play a role in the universe by consistently cultivating our minds, cultivating our scenarios, our circumstances, our environments, so that the things that we're trying to see come into play work. Now, listen, y'all, this is why, right, there's a surah in the Quran, Surah 103, Al-Asr. It says, Allah reminds us, or God reminds us that verily, it says, verily mankind is at loss, except those who believe and do righteous deeds and join together in the mutual enjoining or encouragement of truth, patience, and constance. I want to say that again, right? The source says, verily, mankind is at a loss. Verily in time, actually. It says, verily in time, mankind is at a loss. Why? Because the moment we were born into a scenario where we're losing time. It says, who doesn't lose? Except those who what? Believe, do righteous deeds, and join together in the mutual encouraging of truth, patience, and constance. All right. And so belief, this tells us that belief, right action, not just any action, but right action, truthfulness, and patience is essentially the formula. Discipline, therefore, is the thread that connects belief to manifestation. It is the steady heartbeat of faith in motion. Because we know faith without works is dead. We also see this echoed in the story of Joshua and the Israelites at Jericho, which is why I call Jericho what I call it, right? For those who know I do Jericho. We see this echoed in the story of Joshua and the Israelites at Jericho, right? They were commanded to march around the walls for 7 days, once a day for 6 days. And then on the 7th day, they were asked to march around the wall 7 times, not with force, but with faithful repetition, right? So they marched around the wall for 7 days. 6 of those days, they marched around once. On the 7th day, they were told to march around 7 times. Now, according to the book of Joshua, y'all, in chapter 4, verse 13, it was over 40,000 armed men, right, who crossed over and participated in this divine strategy. They didn't fight first. They followed. All right. So let's go back to that word, that root Latin word discipulus, disciples. They followed. They followed the command of Joshua that was given through instruction from the angel. 40,000 men. They didn't fight. They followed. They moved in unison, disciplined, obedient, believing. Now look what happened on the seventh day after the seventh march, with the foundation of the walls being shaken by the vibration of 40,000 men marching, right? With the support of the angels and the agents of universal power, the priests blew their trumpets and the people shouted. What happened? The vibration of disciplined devotion, that persistent, purpose-filled movement shook the foundation and the walls fell. That's discipline, y'all. Discipline is belief in action, repeated with patience and constance until the impossible breaks. So when I talk about discipline, or when I'm teaching you about discipline, I'm not talking about punishment, right? Once again, I'm talking about power. I'm talking about the ability to move mountains, the power that shatters walls, the power to walk in purpose until the promise shows up. That's the reason why I keep saying the promise is coming and is here. It's definitely, it's connected to our vision and what we can see. But then to get the promise, all we got to do is stay disciplined in the word. So in note and conclusion for today, the winner, and I want to really read this right. The winner is one who sees the higher vibration of themselves and believes it. I want to say that again. The winner is one who sees the higher vibration or the higher version of themselves and believes it. They see the outcome. They seek the knowledge that aligns with that version. Then they convert that knowledge into plans, formulas, recipes, and plays with the willingness to continue to learn, right? Adding to and tweaking the recipe daily until it's just right. Does the winner leave the kitchen, y'all, once the recipe is perfected? No. All right. There's no such thing. We don't leave the kitchen. They stay in the kitchen, learning, adjusting, cooking, and serving on a daily basis, knowing that the greatest version of that dish is aborted the last time they make it. The winner is the one who sees the higher version of themselves and believes it. They see the outcome of where they can go. They seek the knowledge that aligns with that version. Then they convert that knowledge into plans and recipes with the willingness to continue to learn so that they can add to the recipe, tweak the recipe daily until it gets right. And then when they get it right, do they leave the kitchen? No, they stay. They stay in the kitchen, right? Learning, continuing to learn, continuing to adjust, continuing to cook and serving, helping their people on a daily basis. Knowing, and this is why I read it again for the last statement, knowing that the greatest version of that dish is aborted the last time they make it, the moment they stop. All right, enough talk. Let's get to the challenge for the week, y'all. This week, I will initiate a challenge for us to connect to the topic of today. It is important that we leave from the inspired thought to produce action, right? Growing up, I was always told that knowledge is power. But in college, a man told me that applied knowledge is power. So in that spirit, I want to be intentional in these lives to challenge myself and to give space to see how you can challenge yourself as well. All right, let's get to it. The challenge questions for this week. This is what we're going to do, right? The challenge of this week are these questions. 1, choose one area of your life where you know you need more structure. That's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to look at or examine one area of our life where we know we need more structure. 2, we're going to describe the vision or outcome that's driving you to want this structure. Describe the vision or outcome that's driving us to want this structure. 3, we're going to describe at least one thing you can do weekly to learn more about this particular area of focus. I'll say it again. Describe at least one thing you can do weekly to learn more about this area of focus. 4, you're going to convert the knowledge you have into 5 or at least 5 daily or weekly actions. You're going to convert the knowledge that you have into at least 5 daily or weekly actions. And then number 5, you're going to run the play for 21 days. 21 days because in the book Atomic Habits, it talks about it takes 21 days to break or establish a new habit. So you're going to run the play for at least 21 days. And then 6, all right, after those 21 days, you're going to post your plan or progress update. You're going to post that plan or progress update using the hashtag Workin and Winning. And that's WORKIN, the word A-N-D, winning, WINNIN. So we take the G's off of Working and Winning. That's the mark. Go through those again really quickly. All right. Number 1, choose an area of your life where you know you need more structure. Number 2, describe the vision or outcome that's driving you to want to have this structure. Number 3, describe at least one thing you can do weekly to learn more about this area. 4, convert the knowledge you have into at least 5 daily or weekly actions. 5, run the play for 21 days. And then at the end of those 21 days, hit me up, post your plan or progress update. And then use the hashtag Working and Winning to talk about how you've grown from that. Now, I want to give y'all an example. I always give an example. I don't ask y'all to do this work without doing it myself. So here's my example. An area of my life that needs more structure right now is my coaching, leadership, and consulting business. I've got a bold vision for it, and I'm taking a multi-million-dollar impact, reaching schools, nonprofits, and companies across the country. I want to help them, right, these schools, these companies, redesign their environments, shift their culture, and transform their clients so that students, their climate, so that students and employees alike experience more meaningful work, stronger results, and deeper belief in themselves. Especially in schools, y'all, I want to shift the beliefs of students who've been underestimated for far too long. Now, to deepen my understanding and to elevate my craft, I'm committed to at least 3 hours a week of research and development. I'll be studying conscious leadership, sharpening my coaching approach, and diving into social impact marketing and reverse advertising on a deeper level. But like we said, knowledge without action is wasted. So here's how I'm going to move weekly, y'all. There's my 5 things. I'll visit at least one school each week to pitch my services in person. 2, quarterly, I'll revise and refine my business plan based on what I've learned. 3, I'll consistently gather and analyze data and feedback from students, school leaders, and clients to improve how I deliver coaching and measure impact. 4, I'll dedicate 2 hours each week to dreaming time, right? Visioning the next evolution of this work and how I can serve more people. And then 5, and finally, I'll put in 3 to 4 hours weekly toward developing new products, services, workshops, keynotes, keeping the mission fresh, relevant, and powerful. So that's me answering the questions that I gave to you to focus. We're going to have to get some better Wi-Fi here. I see it going out. All right, y'all. I want to make space for something here before we close out. One of my mentors once told me that the key to being disciplined is to remember what you want, right? You must remember the vision and why you want it. The challenge is that the world doesn't know your vision, right? Nor is it set up to show you your vision, and has a lot of systems, beliefs, and messages to actually discourage it. So what you'll find is that the hardest work you'll do every day is remembering your dream, practicing your belief in it, speaking it out loud, being grateful for where you are in the process, and doing the work of today that will help you remember tomorrow. When we build in our daily practice the ritual of remembering the vision we have for ourselves, we do the daily work of transforming our mind, and our discipline is almost instantly renewed. All right. There's a saying that says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. This makes the process, y'all, of doing the work easier, because as a man thinketh, so shall he be. And so the greatest disciplined work that we'll do every day is the intentional transforming of our minds, aligning our consciousness with our dream, not the world's dream, right? And practicing patience and gratitude as we intentionally cause tomorrow's effects. The hardest work you will do every day is remembering the dream. The world don't want you to. So that's been our talk for the day. Before we leave, I want to give some other resources. So some resources that you can tap into, some books that I read. One is called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Again, that's Atomic Habits by James Clear. The second one is a book called Principles by Ray Dalio. And you can look that up. And the third one is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. All right, cool. Before we get out of here today, let's get into our Working and Winning segment. Time for Working and Winning, y'all. This last segment is called Working and Winning. If you can see, hear, smell, taste, and feel, then your body works. And if your body works, you have everything you need to win. All you need is the how. So here's a 4-step process that we use to bring our dreams, plans, and intentional efforts into fruition. We will revisit them weekly to set new goals and intentions. Now, y'all, here's the 4 steps. The first step, vision and belief. Number 2 is speech. Number 3 is gratitude. And number 4 is action. All right. So I want to explain these separately and then make space for you all to process what I mean. So 1, again, is vision and belief. This is a question. It says, what do I see clearly or believe is possible for me this week? This is our 4-step manifestation process for the week. What do I see clearly or believe is possible for me this week? Number 2, speech, is how will I use the vibrant power of words to create for myself, right? What affirmation will I speak over this belief for the week? Number 3 is gratitude. How will I lighten my spirit, find joy, love, and peace, and be receptive to all the good available to me? And then 4 is action, right? What will I do to move this thing forward? What is the work of this week? How will I track my alignment on purpose? If this message hits for you, right? This message is about discipline. I want you to comment one takeaway that you have from this week and then tag a brother or sister. This thing will, there's going to be a edited version on YouTube Thursday morning at 7 a.m. However, I will make this live available on Instagram Thursday morning at 7 a.m. as well. But tag a brother or sister when it's released and then comment on that live or comment on that YouTube video. Let me know what you took away from this week, right? And let's win. Let's build with great care. Now, all of you know that I speak, right? I'm an artist, speaker, and master certified professional coach, right? So if this message spoke to you, then imagine what it could do to unlock the hearts of your team, your school, or organization if we did it live in the room, right? I don't want to just speak at your event, y'all. I want to leave an imprint. I want to move spirits. I want to leave people ready to work and win. And so if you would like to bring me to speak at your next event, retreat, or leadership session, I want to create a movement with your people. A moment that becomes a movement with your people. So just DM me, type the word speak in my DM, and I'll follow up with you. We'll get started that way. For anybody else, right? For anybody who wants to explore coaching with me, if you're ready to live big and start moving with clarity, conviction, and care, then I got you, right? My one-on-one coaching programs are designed to help you align your mindset, your leadership, and daily habits with a higher purpose. That's why we're talking about discipline. All right. So take the first steps with me toward intentional, sustainable growth. Go on my DMs, just type the word coach, and let's talk about what's possible. And for real, we're gonna do good work together. So, I always say, y'all, the promise is coming and it's here. All right. And that's really what this is about, right? If we go back to the example I gave you about how the Israelites walked around the wall 7 days, it was that level of discipline that allowed them to get to the promise. The promise was already there, right? But there was a wall between them and the promise. And there was that level of discipline, that 7 days of marching with 7 days on 7 times on a 7th day. Think about that. The vibrational energy in the earth of 40,000 people marching shook the foundation of the walls of Jericho. And when the trumpet blew, the vibrational energy of the sound permeated the wall, shook it up, and it crumbled. So what is this telling us? That the promise is already here, but a lot of times it's separated from us between a wall. And the only thing keeping us from getting through that wall is purposeful, disciplined action. And so that's why discipline is part of working and winning. So the promise is coming and it's here. I love y'all. Let's get to it. See you soon. Peace.
happen overnight. They take time and patience. So instead of waiting, struggle and be patient, 'cause greatness has been prepared for you.